Welcome in IllinoisPrep.com. Week 2 recap. Eric Seals, Skylar King. You can follow us on Twitter at EricIPrep, at SkylarIPrep. And as always, visit the message boards and the Facebook page. We got 5 games to recap, including our 3-game jamboree from East St. Louis, little Illinois prep retreat.
Yep.
And also Loyola and Montini. But we'll kick it off. Maine South, Wheaton South. We were there on Friday night, and it wasn't pretty.
No, it wasn't. Even Coach and Sarah at the end of the game was like, you know what, that's an ugly one. But if we come away with a W, it's okay. We can go ahead and go to week 3. Matt Alviti, 94 rushing yards, touchdown, 110 passing yards. Paul Preston, putting up some good yards, just shy of 100. This Maine South team, I think they were very excited to play Wheaton South because of what's happened the last 2 times that they played them. And, it wasn't the prettiest game, but they're happy. They came out with a win, and they're going to go on to week 3.
Yeah, they're 2-0 as opposed to 0-2 at this time last year. Exactly. So certainly a lot to build. Although Coach and Sarah did say, they're a little more coachable when they were 0-2 last year.
That's true. That's true. But I think they'll be okay. The unfortunate thing for them is they don't have as much competition going out through the regular season, so they have to pretty much get ready for the playoffs through this time.
Yeah, that passing game needs to find a rhythm, because the thing that we noticed was Alviti had some time back there, and it seemed like no one would be open, and he would have to tuck it and run. So something for them to work on. Saturday, lightning delay. We were thinking about going to this game, and then we didn't. And it was like, man, we've been sitting through lightning delay after lightning delay. But Malcolm Weaver's the truth.
Yeah, Malcolm Weaver. We talked about him early in the year. Talk about him being one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Illinois. He definitely showed that last week. They put up 21 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous right there. Malcolm Weaver, 21 for 29, went for 246 yards, 5 scores, and spreading the ball out. I mean, he was giving it to several receivers.
Plus, like 95 on the ground and a touchdown.
Exactly.
I mean,
so that is a threat.
Early player of the year candidate.
Exactly.
And he went to like 5 different receivers. 3 different guys caught touchdown passes. And another receiver had 99 receiving yards that didn't have a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, that's going to be interesting, when Loyola plays your St. Rita and your Mount Carmel, because they're different than both of those teams. So, it might be to their advantage just as far as how much they utilize the pass game.
Well, I think, and we'll obviously talk about it, I think after what we saw this weekend, it might be a Loyola Mount Carmel game for the conference championship.
It might be.
When we come back, we got 3 games that we saw this Sunday in East St. Louis. Simeon, St. Rita, and the East St. Louis Flyers, and we'll talk about that when we come back here on IllinoisPrep.com. Welcome back in, IllinoisPrep.com. We wanted to see St. Louis last year, didn't get a chance to, so we took the trip down.
The long
trip down, long trip back. But we got to see 3 Illinois games, and not much luck for the Illinois schools this weekend.
No.
St. Rita, a team a lot of people were high on, looked like the better team most of this game, but their offense could not get it done inside the 20s.
Yeah, and that's what it came down to, and that's what head coach Todd Kuska was saying. He said, we got some young guys right now, but they were inside the was it Whitehaven?
Yep.
Whitehaven's 25-yard their 25-yard line 4 times.
Yeah.
And they couldn't punch it in. I mean, they had several turnovers. I mean, interception at the beginning of the game. And that kind of shows that, they have some young people in certain positions. And I think over the season, they're obviously going to get better than that. Obviously, with good coaching and the type of program they are, that's not going to continue. But definitely, not the St. Rita team that we've seen, the last couple times we've seen them.
And that defense looked good. I mean, one play. Otherwise, this is a 0-0 game going to overtime.
And they took the running back out.
Right, yeah, he got hurt shortly after that.
He was out.
So, yeah, I mean, 70-yard touchdown run with 10:19 to play in the second quarter, and that was the entire scoring for that football game. So, a lot of defense, not a lot of offense. The team that did put some points up on the board.
Put some points on the board.
Were the East St. Louis Flyers.
Yep.
In what a chippy game, I guess he might describe it as, but Gardner Edgerton from Kansas. This was a team that, from the attitude the coaches were taking to the kids, not a team used to losing a lot of games. They came to battle.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Lamontez Ivy running that team, we were really impressed with him. There were several throws where you're like, man, he's throwing it like a college quarterback on the run, dodging people. I mean, The offense was run very well. The speed on the defense was ridiculous.
And they, lots of teams that have that speed maybe lack some discipline, over pursue, get caught on the draw. These kids stayed home, and they were cracking some running backs.
And that's the thing, when you have good coaching, it's not just about flying all over the field and just hitting people and not paying attention. I mean, defense is going to be is going to be a system where it's a little reckless abandonment, but their defense was just, they were playing well. They were looking real good.
And not a lot of conservative drop 7 into coverage for the Flyers. No. There might have been a running back or a safety or a corner blitzing on just about every single play.
Yeah. Gardner Egerton, very good team. They stayed in the game the whole time. Definitely gave East St. Louis a good go at it, but East St. Louis is definitely trying to have some redemption from what happened last year. They're coming into the playoffs since 2011. Yeah, coming into the playoffs, and they talked about it like, we got to play well because we got to get ready for your Weed South and Glenbard West and your Cardinals and stuff like that. And the coach talked about that at the end of the game. So it should be good to see what happens with East St. Louis for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think Ivy definitely impressive. I think they got 5-6 guys that they could take it to the house on any play. We saw a big kick return.
Yep.
We almost had a pick 6 on Kenny Jenkins, number 10. He would be an Eric Seals All-Star if he was a running back. He was a little guy, but he jumped that route like a college corner and almost housed it.
Yeah.
Playmakers, I think, is what you see when you watch East St. Louis, and certainly they're as talented as any team in 7A.
I think out of going down to East St. Louis and checking out some of the teams, a team like East St. Louis, and I saw this a little bit with Simeon, who we'll get to next. Their weak spot seems to be the special teams. We saw.
Well, that's the kicking game.
I'm sorry, you're right. The kicking game.
Because they got some guys.
They went for 2 a lot, which is understandable. Which you like more, especially if you don't have a kicker. But certain teams can come in and take advantage of that, and I'm sure that's something they're going to be working on throughout these next couple weeks.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those, and we obviously both noticed it. We've noticed it not just throughout that Wheaton South Maine South game. Mm-hmm. Wasn't pretty with the punters. And that's going to happen because most of these punters are just position players that happen to be the punter.
Spending 5 minutes in practice, maybe practicing it, and that definitely doesn't help.
In Chicago, when the weather gets bad and the winds are swirling, you're going to get a lot of.
And that's going to happen down in Champaign. So
right, and we were counting some of those guys like. That was an 11-yard punt.
Yeah.
that was an
They should have just went for it half the time.
Right?
One thing I was also thinking about with East St. Louis, similar to Maine South, is their regular season, they're not going to have that many games where they're going to be pushed. When you hit conference. So I know O'Fallon's supposed to be a little bit better this year. So, again, this is a team that has to really prepare. They have to play better than their opponent all the time, regardless of how good they are.
And you alluded to it, that it was actually the first game of the day, the third game we're talking about. Simeon, no Robert Gregory, which is obviously huge. You got an SEC quarterback that's out.
Yeah.
But you saw some of the problems with the receiving core that you alluded to from that Mount Carmel game. Yep. You saw a lot of drops.
And this one not as bad as the Mount Carmel game as far as the amount of drops, but there was still drops. You got a junior quarterback coming in, getting the system together, timing and everything is going to make a big difference. So that might have played into it. But, some other things, and we talked about this during this game, and I know about this in particular because I used to do it, especially in my younger days, being a running back, a lot of tiptoeing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, before, running backs were even getting to the hole, making moves, trying to make cuts.
Yep.
And those 5, to 8 yards when you're lining up behind the line, there's not a lot of moves to be made. You have to hit that hole. Then after that, you can go. So
once you get past that line of scrimmage,
when you get past that line. So I didn't like seeing some of the tiptoeing, and I know the coaches over there, could be working on that. But Simeon, definitely still a team that's going to be, has a great chance of making the playoffs because of who they play in the regular season.
Yeah. Well, again, we just talked about Maine South and East St. Louis. Now Simeon, a team that absolutely dominated conference last year, certainly will have an opportunity to make a nice run and head to the playoffs.
And they have Morgan Park coming in next week, and I think I have a feeling that or reading from the article, Robert Gregory probably could have played in that game, but they're more looking so at the entire
conference,
season
yep.
instead of just trying to look it for one game. So he comes back, turns the whole thing upside down.
Yeah. Those are our 5 games that we talked about. We'll do a little overtime here, talking about other things from around the state. But Eric Seals, Skylar King, as always, you can get at us at Eric iPrep, at Skylar iPrep, visit the message boards, Facebook, and we will see you next time for Week 3 preview here on IllinoisPrep.com.